For years, the truth stayed hidden. The victims forgotten. The cases left cold. Until science revealed what time could not. This is decades in the dark, where cold cases are brought back to light. The interstate hums like a river of steel. Neon motel signs flicker against the night sky, promising rest to weary travelers. But for the women working behind those front desks, the night held danger they couldn't see coming. Between 1987 and 1990, a predator stalked America's I-65. He struck at roadside motels, targeting clerks working alone. He killed 3 women and nearly a 4th. For decades, all investigators had was a sketch. Until science and a single drop of DNA revealed his name. Elizabethtown, Kentucky, February 21st, 1987. A cold, damp winter night. The Super 8 motel parking lot is nearly empty, a thin mist hanging in the air. Inside, 41-year-old Vicky Heath is on duty. She's new to the job, eager to prove herself. The lobby is quiet, fluorescent lights humming overhead. Just after midnight, she is confronted by a man who forces her outside into the freezing dark. Behind the building, near the dumpsters, she is sexually assaulted and shot. When coworkers arrive around 6 a.m., they find her body in the cold, wet grass. The drawer is short on cash. The killer is already gone, headlights fading down I-65. Detectives collect fibers, prints, a sexual assault kit. But in 1987, DNA testing is new, slow, and limited. The case stalls. Merrillville, Indiana, March 3rd, 1989, 2 years later. It's a windy night and the Days Inn sign glows against the dark highway, another stop for travelers searching for rest. Inside, 24-year-old Margaret Peggy Gill is working the late shift. She's bright and full of potential, keeping the desk tidy, waiting for morning to come. Around 3 a.m., she disappears from the lobby. Hours later, she's found in a guest room, sexually assaulted and shot. The drawer is missing money. The parallels to Vicky Heath's case are impossible to ignore. Remington, Indiana, hours later. That same morning, 60 miles south, the air is clear but bitterly cold. Another Days Inn stands just off I-65. Jeannie Gilbert, 34, is behind the desk. She's a mother of 2, steady and dependable, pushing through another long night. Sometime around 4 a.m., she too vanishes. Later, she's found in a ditch near the motel. She has been sexually assaulted and shot. 2 women, 2 towns, 2 murders in a single night. For investigators, the pattern is undeniable. Someone is prowling the interstate, hunting motel clerks in the dead of night. Nearly a year later, January 1990, a snowy Indiana night covers Columbus. The Days Inn lobby is quiet, the heater humming as the clerk straightens papers at the desk. Just before 5 a.m., the killer strikes again, but this time the outcome is different. The clerk fights back. She breaks free and runs into the freezing dark. She survives, and with her survival comes the first real break. From her memory, police produce a composite sketch. A narrow face, sharp cheekbones, reddish hair. For the first time, the faceless shadow has features. The sketch circulates, pinned at rest stops, taped to bulletin boards, mailed to police stations across the Midwest. But the man it depicts is always on the move. By the time anyone might recognize him, he's already gone. DNA testing eventually links all 3 murders, but CODIS, the national database, finds no match. For decades, the profile sits in silence. Families wait with no answers. By the late 2010s, investigators turned to forensic genealogy. They used the killer's DNA to build out family trees from distant relatives. Branch by branch, the possibilities narrow until one name remains: Harry Edward Greenwell. Greenwell was a drifter with a violent past. Burglaries, assaults, escapes from custody. His jobs and addresses all trace back to the same highway corridor. But justice comes too late. Greenwell had died in 2013 from cancer. Even so, DNA from relatives confirms the match. In 2022, investigators announced that the I-65 Motel Killer finally has a name. Harry Greenwell moved constantly, from Kentucky to Indiana to Wisconsin, never staying long. He blended in, working odd jobs and living a transient life. But beneath the surface was a man with a record of violence. He was slippery, always one step ahead. Exactly the kind of predator who could strike in the night and vanish before morning. The key wasn't just DNA from the crime scenes. It was ordinary objects, stamps and envelopes handled by his relatives. Tiny traces of saliva, invisible for decades, confirmed the link. When tested, the match was undeniable. The faceless killer who haunted the interstate finally had a name. And then, silence. After 1990, the murders ended. But why? Investigators have theories. He may have killed elsewhere, and those crimes were never connected. He was in and out of prison, unable to offend while incarcerated. The failed 1990 attack may have spooked him, his face now on wanted posters across the Midwest. Or maybe age caught up with him. By the mid-1990s, he was in his 50s, drifting into burglaries and theft instead of murder. Whether he truly stopped, or whether other victims remain unidentified, is a question that may never be answered. But this story isn't about him. It's about the women whose lives he stole. Vicky Heath, 41, dependable and kind, the heart of her family. Peggy Gill, 24, young and hopeful, her life just beginning. Jeannie Gilbert, 34, a mother working long nights for her kids. And the surviving clerk in Columbus, who survived, and whose courage gave investigators the sketch that carried this case forward for decades. For their families, Greenwell's death in 2013 meant no trial, no day in court. But at last, they had an answer. The interstate is America's artery, carrying people and stories from place to place. For years, a predator used it to hunt. He nearly escaped forever. But persistence, science, and a single strand of DNA finally spoke his name. This is Decades in the Dark, where science brings the past to light. Subscribe for more stories where justice never expires.